Danielle Brown came here to the Caroline County Sheriff's Office on March 9th because she had just hit a deer and she wanted to get a report that she could give to her insurance. She ended up going to jail for 3 days for a crime she did not commit.
Oftentimes we see citizens pose the question to police officers, how is having my ID going to help you solve your case? It's a very important question because in this situation, the cops had ID and they still arrested this woman for someone else's crime.
Yeah, it's crazy. Something I feel like you see in the movies, but you don't think actually happens. Yeah.
On March 9th, Danielle Brown innocently walked into the Caroline County Sheriff's Office only to report hitting a deer.
He takes my ID and he runs my name.
When she left, she was in handcuffs, heading to jail, and suddenly being called Julia Bickford.
A few minutes later, he comes back to tell me that he has a warrant for my arrest, which was jaw-dropping, I guess, to say the least, because to my knowledge, there was nothing that I could have a warrant for.
Brown says she was told by a sheriff's deputy who ran her social security number and date of birth that her name came back as an alias for a woman wanted on an arrest warrant out of Chesterfield County. That woman, Julia Bickford.
And for those of you who think this is a simple mistake, a one-off, and it doesn't happen that often, this happens more than you think. Here's also an incident covered by the civil rights lawyer of a man who went to purchase a firearm but got 14 days in jail instead.
Yeah, just a little bit. Like I said, I'm not going to write the ticket or nothing like that. Okay. But, can you put your hands up there, Tim?
Yeah.
I'll tell you in 2 seconds.
Michael Brewer spent 14 days in jail for a crime that was never even committed.
I'm being arrested?
Yeah.
For what?
Okay.
He goes to a local gun store to buy a gun, but he gets jail instead. The gun shop does the routine background check of his criminal record before completing the purchase, but something goes wrong. Apparently, there was a mistake in his criminal record, making it look like he wasn't allowed to touch or purchase a gun, even though he actually was.
I don't know why I'm being arrested. Yeah, I'm telling you, we're going to remind you of an incident.
Providence.
And you're going to remember,
41 marks.
You're going to remember the whole thing.
Thank you, 29.
In case you don't know, convicted felons are generally prohibited from possessing or purchasing firearms federally as well as in every state, including Florida.
Get you a lawyer and find out it's clerical, and they'll take you in the right steps.
But do you understand how scary it is to not be a felon and then you get arrested as a felon? Like, so in the state of Florida thinks I'm a felon? That's crazy. How could they fuck up that bad?
I think misdemeanor versus felony for like anyone that's been in law enforcement for any length of time, like knows or should know the difference.
How long were you in jail?
I was in jail exactly 14 days, and then they released me and put me on an ankle monitor for another 2 weeks. They knew very early on there was a mistake, that I was innocent, and there was no sense of urgency. Just leave me in jail. Didn't matter about my family, didn't matter about my job. It didn't matter that I wasn't even a violent, person or had a real criminal record at all.
And he's right. It doesn't matter. People are not arrested for crimes. They're arrested for ego, misinformation, and many times retaliation.
He said that Julia Bickford was an alias of mine, and that because it was my alias, he had to take me in. But I told him I'd never even heard the name before.
Despite her pushing back, the deputy consulted with the magistrate and they decided to hold her at Pamunkey Regional Jail.
And the magistrate then he was confused and said that he didn't think that it was me, but that I had to go in front of a judge.
So as we see, there's a bunch of confused people in charge of enforcing laws and making sure you see a judge. Well, first we have a woman who hits a deer, tries to get a report for her insurance. Well, she's arrested. Then we have another guy who tries to purchase a firearm. Well, he spends 14 days in jail. But what about this? What about being held at gunpoint for stealing your own car?
Get back in the vehicle, it's showing as stolen.
As Courtney Heitzman pulled into her driveway and got out of her Kia Optima on Friday, May 31st, she turned and saw an Amherst police officer behind her.
Radio, I got the driver at gunpoint.
Driver at gunpoint.
A few seconds later, Courtney's daughter runs to the door to see what the commotion is all about.
Just stay in the house, please.
Stay in the house, please. Stay in the house.
In a panic, Courtney called her mother.
Mom, there's a cop. He's got a gun and he's pointing it at me. A cop?
To understand how Courtney found herself in this situation, we have to go back to May 10th, when her Kia was
stolen while I was at work in the city of Buffalo.
Courtney reported it to the Buffalo police.
And the Buffalo, New York police did find the vehicle. They recovered it, gave it back to the owner, and then they held the owner at gunpoint for driving the vehicle because the Buffalo police forgot to take it out of the system as stolen. Policing on the streets is important, but documentation, as we see, is also important. If not, you're arresting people for having a warrant when in reality, they only came to report they hit a deer so they can get a report for their insurance company.
So they were going to keep me for the night till I could see the judge the next day. The next day came and never saw the judge.
Brown sat in jail under the name Julia Bickford Monday night and Tuesday night. Finally, Wednesday afternoon, Chesterfield arrived and moved her to the Chesterfield jail. The Chesterfield Sheriff's Office told me they identified her as Danielle Brown and not Julia Bickford based on her real ID, DMV photographs, fingerprinting, and FBI identifiers. She was in their facility for less than an hour. They obtained this court order to release her immediately. Brown believes Bickford must have stolen her identity at some point in the past, although the Chesterfield Sheriff's Office told me one cannot automatically infer her identity was stolen. She wonders how Chesterfield was able to find out so quickly that she was in fact Danielle Brown and not Julia Bickford and release her. But Caroline County and Pamunkey did not, and instead held her in jail from Monday to Wednesday. Tell people what it was like to be in jail for something that you did not do.
Oh, God, it was horrible. It was jaw-dropping. Again, like, I was worried about my job. I was scared that I'd lose my job, mainly.
We asked Pamunkey about why they decided to hold Brown. They told us that although they were made aware of the potential discrepancy, they were obligated to rely on the judicial paperwork presented by the magistrate. Caroline County Sheriff Scott Moser said his office is conducting an internal investigation. He called the episode unfortunate and said he is really sorry this happened. But for Danielle Brown, sorry is not enough. Do you think somebody should be held accountable?
Yes, ma'am.
The person that
locked me up.
What do you want to see happen?
I mean, really, I don't think he deserves his job. He's definitely not doing a good job at it. So I'd like to see his badge taken from him.
And then what about Pamunkey?
I don't even, they just need to step up altogether. You know?
Or the magistrate?
All of them. I think all of them need to be held accountable in some way.
Well, the truth of the matter is there's a big chance that nothing's going to happen. No one's going to be fired. It's just going to be chalked up as some misunderstanding. And we made a mistake and that's it. When in reality, this happens every day across this country. There are people going to jail, even prison, for things they never did. People simply living their life each and every day, not knowing that they would bump into some tyrannical cop and their freedom will be in jeopardy and they can't see their family, their wife, their husbands, their children anymore because of some cop who just can't do his job properly because doesn't even know the laws he's enforcing. This is a sad state for the state of policing. Make sure you know your rights, protect yourself, stay safe. With that being said, we the people you, signing off.